Today we are talking about the life of Charlemagne and how Latin became the language of power during his reign. Hi, my name is Moray and welcome to Moray's Muse, an anti-AI history generated YouTube channel. I'm a real woman, not an avatar, and we're talking about real history. So let's get into the life of Charlemagne. Charlemagne, or Charles I, was born to Pepin the Short and Bertrada of Leon. You guys have told me that I'm butchering a few of these names, so I apologize, so correct me in the comments. My focus is Gallo-Roman history, and I'm going to Latin school. I'm not very good at this European kind of thing, but we're trying to learn. Charlemagne's precise birth date and birthplace is really disputed. Really disputed. It's a Pandora's box for historians. The true birth year is attributed to happening in 742 CE, and this was according to Einhard. But modern day scholars have problems with this birth date. Some scholars say that 747 BC is more likely of a date, but there's no consensus. Also, there's a few bits of controversy if Charlemagne was born out of wedlock. That's fun to look into. We also don't know where in Europe he was born. Some people say he was born in Belgium, some people say he was born in France, some people say he was born in Germany. We need to understand the time that Charlemagne grew up in. Charlemagne grew up in the aftermath of the collapse of the Roman Empire. It was a huge power vacuum in Western Europe. After the last Roman emperor was removed in 476 CE. We know this because I know that the Anglo-Saxons went off to England, but tribes started ruling. The Franks were a very successful group. So you had the Vandals, the Visigoths, the Anglo-Saxons in England, because they kind of tried in Wales, but they tried. And you also have the Franks, and the Franks are the most successful group. Clovis I, the king of the Franks, he converts to Christianity. Catholic Christianity. This happens in 496 CE. And the Franks and the Pope, state and church, are closely aligned. The Frankish Merovingian dynasty gets quite fractured. Partible inheritance is part and parcel of being a Frank, which means dividing a kingdom between the king's sons. But as we know from Game of Thrones, siblings will fight. And this kind of way of dividing up a kingdom or their inheritance, it leads to civil wars. The real authority shifted to the mayor of the palace, the Maiora Domus. And yes, I'm gonna learn these words in Latin school, so I'm pronouncing them bad right now, but we are going to Latin school in 2 months. I cannot wait. From this mess was the Carolingian family. Charles Martel, he was the patriarch, the hammer. Line of Game of Thrones. Yeah, I was about to say the Martels, right? He cemented his family status and he defeated invading forces at the Battle of Tours. This happened in 732 CE. Then you've got Pepin the Short, the son of Charles Martel, and he realized that his family had the power but not the title and the prestige. In 751 CE, he works out a deal with the Pope and asks for divine legitimacy of his family. And in return, the Carolingians would become the church's bodyguards. Charlemagne is Pepin the Short's son. He's inherited a kingdom that's starting to flourish. It's unified, legitimized by the church, and stabilized by his father and grandfather. They've done all the hard work. He takes the throne in 768 CE. But there is one problem with the citizens of his kingdom. Whilst he is crowned the Emperor of the Romans in 800 CE, we have a problem with literacy, honey.
Because reading is what? Fundamental.
In general, like the collapse of the Western Roman system had let Germanic tribes and various Vandals, Visigoths, Anglo-Saxons, you know, there was not much organization in regards to writing systems or literacy. For the Romans, literacy was a widespread tool of civic life. Schools, aristocratic culture, poetry, you know, huge things that even peasants really could delve in. But when the Western Roman Empire collapses, people are trying to survive. They're not trying to write. They've got to learn survival skills. Yes, some of the Roman educational system did survive, but just slightly. especially in parts of Italy. But schools of grammar and rhetoric declined. So the early medieval West relied on monasteries, right, to keep literacy alive. And I just want to preface this because I'm going to get some comments, possibly if this video kicks off. You know, literacy among kings, merchants, aristocrats, it never truly declined. For aristocracy, the education of the time was around being in the military. You're taught in horsemanship, weaponry, how to lead, how to hunt. Monasteries preserved the Latin texts. They maintained book production. Manuscripts are copied by scribes who know what they're reading. They're not learning it, they're just copying it. They can't understand it. There are complaints of the time that these priests don't really know what they're speaking when they're reading out these texts. The scroll was the dominant form for writing, and the codex had started to replace it. So there were advancements. A lot of changes had to be made. This is when the Carolingian Renaissance comes in. Charlemagne, whose father and grandfather did the hard work of creating stability and aligning with the church, realizes that his job is reforming a lot of education. Einhard himself, his biographer, says that Charlemagne himself wasn't fully literate actually. He says that Charlemagne kept wax tablets underneath his pillows to practice forming letters, but Charlemagne respected learning a lot. The story goes that Charlemagne was fluent in Latin, he understood some Greek, and he had a curiosity for learning. Charlemagne reforms the school system. The Merovingian Palace School, or the Schola Palatina, was a school originally used to train young nobles in the arts of fighting, military, learning how to lead and hunt, and court etiquette. And Charlemagne changes it, and he creates an intellectual centre. He invites Alcuin of York, a scholar. Alcuin, who represented the academic institutions of Northumbrian schools, became Charlemagne's Prime Minister of Education. He designs a very good curriculum on the 7 liberal arts, and there is intellectualism is growing. And Charlemagne's court becomes an intellectual community. International scholars are turning up. Peter of Pisa taught the king Latin grammar. I'm gonna learn in 2 months. Einhard taught the king architecture. We see a lot of Irish scholars, and Irish history is something I really am excited to get into in the next few videos, but we see Clement the Irishman, who introduces Greek, Neoplatonist philosophy, and the writing of the Greek fathers to the Frankish court. This court not only helps Charlemagne's personal intellectual interests, but he's educating the sons in the nobility of this court, and he's passing on knowledge. These intellectuals who have been brought to the court, they possess the master of rhetoric and linguistic skills. So another reason for Charlemagne's mission of promoting the use of Latin and promoting literacy was helping standardize the Christian faith. Literacy was crucial so people could understand Christianity. Corrupted and corrected religious texts were teaching people how to pray wrong. He wants the Catholic books to be preserved. Charlemagne also believed in educating noblewomen. He believed that noblewomen could help run estates, administer convents, and manage resource tracking. Charlemagne did not want his daughters to be inactive. And Charlemagne utilized the wealthy monasteries to carry out this education. I've also spoken about how educated noblewomen, changing the education system, filling a court with intellectuals to create a population with literacy. We need to talk about the Carolingian miniscule, aka the complete reform of handwriting. When the Western Roman Empire ended up falling, handwriting is very messy. People are using Visigothic script, insular miniscule. These scripts are beautiful, but they're ineligible. The Carolingian miniscule, with clearer letter forms, and letters feature distinct ascenders and descenders. It transforms communication. It's legible and uniform, and it introduces capital letters for titles, a mix of uppercase and lowercase letters for subtitles, and word spacing and punctuation. There is a bit of a backlash to it, especially in places like Switzerland, and over 7,000 Carolingian miniscule scripts actually survive to this day. And we can see that this is the primary medium where classical Latin comes from. And what's fascinating is somebody who like loved someone like Petrarch. These Carolingian scripts are what Petrarch discovered. Charlemagne was really successful in his goal of creating a much more literate empire. Understanding, and the best thing that the Carolingian dynasty taught us is that they understood that military prowess could not create an empire alone. You need to educate and teach literacy to your citizens. For Charlemagne, he recognized that Latin was one of the most powerful tools he could use in order to create and unify his own empire. Charlemagne's reign concludes in 814 CE, and he leaves behind a political legacy that was partitioned by his grandsons at the Treaty of Verdun. The Treaty of Verdun basically created the territorial foundations of like modern day Germany and France. Thank you for watching this video, and subscribe and like. I really like reading your comments every single morning, so please leave them. Even if they're trolling, they make me laugh. I'll see you in the next video.